Summer 2025 is in the books, and we are in debrief mode. After some clear our head and relax mode, I get it. Hopefully, you're listening to this on a beach, on a Caribbean island, or a quiet log cabin on a beautiful mountaintop. And you could listen to me, Sam, and Jordanna wax poetically about our summer experiences camp, staff, parents, family night, accountability, and more. Most of my camp colleagues had a great summer, including the three of us. So let's roll the cameras on season 8. This is the Day Camp Pod.
This is the Day Camp Pod from Go Camp Pro, bringing you the best ideas, strategies, and discussions in the day camp industry. You can find our show notes at daycamppodcast.com.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to resource for the latest programming and recreation solutions to ensure your campers thrive. For more info, visit crs4rec.com. CRS, the number 4, rec.com. CRS is serious about fun. CampMinder has the most robust offerings of features out there, but more importantly, every feature works together to create a full, seamless system that helps camps run more efficiently. Visit them today at campminder.com. Building the perfect camp schedule takes experience, but when a key staff member leaves, that know-how can walk out the door too. That's where Camptivities comes in, protecting your camp's institutional knowledge and making sure that every camper gets a schedule that you promised. Learn more at camptivities.com.
Welcome back to the Day Camp Pod. I'm Andy Pritikin, the director of Liberty Lake in the Philly suburbs of New Jersey.
I'm Sam Thompson from Crystal Lake Park District, Crystal Lake, Illinois.
And I'm Jordanna Gross here. I'm the director of Camp Robin Hood out in Ontario, Canada.
And we are back, ladies and gents, for a new season. We just had our summer seasons and we are nice and chill. Everybody's got a nice little vibe going on right now, even though Sam and Jordanna have people still at their place doing all kinds of other things. Why don't you tell us what's going on there, Jordanna? It's interesting.
Yeah, so we have a shoulder season at Robin Hood. So in the spring and in the fall, we run school programs. So schools are visiting us every day for the next 6 weeks. We have a different school every day. And we run team building programming for incoming high school students so they can all bond and create those memories to kick off their high school experience. And it's nice because they get a camp in a day, which is really special. It's funny, we actually get some applicants from this program who come back and wanting to work at Robin Hood.
Well.
And we ask them if they ever went to camp and like, yeah, we went. And we're like, we can't find you in our system. We came for the one day and it was that memorable. So it's a really special program that we like to do in the fall.
I think that's worth the price of doing it. Just right there.
Honestly.
The aggravation. So we're gonna do an episode on this, but I just want you all to think about what Jordanna does with this. She has to hire people for this shoulder season, and most of her college students are away. And she retrains rope staff for just this thing because you gotta.
I love a lot of it. The hiring of staff for the fall when you think you're done with the summer and then you got to hire all these people. It's tricky, but somehow we make it through every year, which is good.
Yeah. And then segue to Sam, who goes to sleep on Friday and wakes up and then like the next week has to like start running like after school programs.
Yeah. And we have a really big morning program. So getting staff that want to wake up and be at work by 6 a.m. and be done at 8:30 and then go home again is difficult.
That's an interesting gig.
Yeah.
Get some vampires.
Right.
All right.
Then they come back.
we still have picnics going on through September, but mostly on the weekends. And yeah, so we're recording this at the end of August, and I am looking forward to next couple of weeks of chilling out mentally. But anyway, Jordanna was awesome enough to come up with some great little topic here things to give it going. So you know what, Jordanna, I'm going to hand it off to you. Right?
Oh,
and I'll just jump in.
Amazing.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm all for an outline. So
Love that.
questions just to guide us, but it's really exciting. I know I just finished camp just a week ago and just reflecting on how our summers went, I thought we could just chat about like what was the biggest win for all of us at camp this year. Sam, what would you say the biggest win was for you?
I added another camp and it was full. So it added another 100 kids, another 100 parents, 50 more staff because I had a lot of inclusions that both told us and did not tell us until they got there. So staffing went on for quite a while. But yeah, so that was good. The intensity, the volume, and the speed of this summer was like no other. It was smooth, but I still feel like it should be May because it just whizzed right by.
Yeah. And even though it was really hot for whatever reason, I got to the end of summer and I still have plenty of energy. So Sam, what is it like when you start a new place on a new site and all that kind of thing? Tell us like a little bit of the nuts and bolts of that.
All right. So I started a year ago asking the school district for another school site, and they said they would give it to us, but of course, they don't tell us until about a month beforehand where we're going to be because of their construction in the summer. And then I had a girl who had been with me as a site supervisor and had been a counselor and all that, but had never run a camp, take over this camp. And so it was very enlightening to have a brand new camp director again. For me, this is not normal. So then you had to go through how many little things did I assume she knew that she didn't know? Like you don't cut your cardboard for the cardboard float regatta in the cafeteria with X-Acto knives on the cafeteria floor. So we are now replacing a cafeteria floor because they found all the scratch marks later. So those kind of things I mean, she did a fantastic job, but it's going to take her a while to build her staff and to build her community and get her voice about feeling strong about in the moment,
Yeah.
correcting and coaching.
Well, you
So,
hire for potential, right? So if you think this
yes,
person has that potential, that's great, but they definitely need to get mentored.
yes,
And we know from doing this, just because you've done it for a while on the front lines doesn't mean that you can manage all these people and the situations that arise and the parents and the buses in your case. It's a lot. It's a lot
yeah,
to ask of somebody and it's hard to tell if somebody really has that camp director skill set until they're getting an opportunity
right.
to do it. But it's a lot involved. My biggest win was just having a normal, nice, beautiful, awesome, smooth summer because the one prior was tough. And we had, because it was a tough summer though, the glass half filled on that is that we had a really, really strong return rate of campers and staff. And it made our camp feel like almost like a smaller camp. And therefore it was a super smooth summer. And on top of that, I feel like the staff, part of it was that the staff had gone through such a tough summer the summer before, and their their perspective was just really, really in check. So most camps, right, part of the camp experience is a lot of people getting pissy at each other and talking behind each other's backs and all this kind of things like that because they're humans and this is just what happens in high intensity gigs. And at Liberty Lake last summer, yeah, not as much. It was everybody was pretty much like, oh yeah, this is great. Let's just be positive and know that things could be a lot rougher. So even though we had 9 days this summer that I would count as like Afghanistan heat, brutal,
Oh, wow.
horrendous like that, we powered through, and it was great. It was great. It just felt wonderful, and our return rate is awesome. We opened up enrollment a couple of weeks ago, and it's booming. So that's how you really know that it was a great summer.
Wonderful. That's so good. Yeah, the heat was crazy this summer. Like it was just so hot. But I also, Andy, was just shocked at how well our staff did. Like the kids, yeah, they were hot, but we swim twice a day. Like they were in the pools and they were taken care of. And even our staff, like oftentimes we've had really hot days and the staff aren't taking care of themselves or their energy level drops. We really didn't see a lot of that. And like throughout the 8 weeks, they just powered through. We were so impressed. And we were also with a high retention rate of staff, which you could see the difference. Admittedly, I was like a little nervous about a high staff retention rate. You never know what
Yeah,
you're going to
might be too comfortable, right?
Right. And it's like, what are they going to be like with the new staff, right? It's kind of a gamble sometimes, but they were so welcoming. They love this place, and you could just feel it from the first day. And I think one of our biggest wins is like the first day didn't feel like the first day. Our team was just all on the same page that everything we looked at each other the first day at camp and we're like, is it the first day? Like, what's going on? And it was just such a nice feeling that everyone was in such a groove. I think the systems we've been working on over the past couple years were just super fine tuned. We had people in spots where they knew exactly what to do, and we trained to that. And it was nice to see that in action, because sometimes you think you train for that and then you get there and you're like, something's off or something's missing. But it was really nice to have that feeling. So we were really proud of our team.
That's
I'm dealing with my first week of camp is a little bit of a struggle, and it's going to continue that way because I'm in an area where the school districts in New Jersey all end at different times.
Yeah.
And our biggest market right now is Center City, Philly, and they end 2 weeks before we start. So I can't delay opening because they really need us. But yet I have to do without a lot of high school staff and a lot of teachers that are to the north of me because of these stinking school schedules. So it's like I got to deal with it at the end of the summer with college students who live in the South or the Midwest or whatever, and then I got to deal on the front end now with these schools. So that's just going to be something I'm going to have to be really cognizant about in hiring people next year, and how I pair my division leaders and stuff like that. Like I have to anticipate that it's going to be. It's just, but the good thing about it being tough at the beginning of summer, and because the heat was the most intense at the beginning of summer, is that everybody is just the most optimistic and motivated and energized at that point. So it's going to be a little tougher first week's the time to do it.
Yeah, and let's be real, I'll take that over the rain. So we were getting sprinklers out and doing all those things, but I would take that over rainy day programming most
Yeah,
days.
it was funny. I was talking to Scott Brody, who runs sleepaway camp, and he's like, it didn't rain much, and he's like, it made us really tired. I was like, what do you mean? He says, because sleepaway camp, you sort of need like 2 or 3 rainy days to just like everybody like hang out in the cabin and like re-energize. He's like, we didn't have that this summer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, day camp. I'm like, are you kidding me?
We're like, rain at night.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
so yellow. I was like, we need some rain.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I forgot. I was like, oh, our lake got closed down. The water got closed. 7 days this summer for bacteria. The county tests the water every day, and we have a lot of geese that we're always fighting that problem. 8 days we were closed. That's the record for years.
Yeah. No, that's a thing. That's across the country, and a part of it is the elevated temperatures make it happen now too. And shout out to all our friends in Texas that dealt with the tragedies down there at the beginning of the summer. But after that happened, because that was the beginning of the summer, after that, a lot of the lakes and rivers and stuff were closed down because it brought so much crap, literally, into the lakes and all those kind of things. So a lot of Texas camps couldn't swim in their natural bodies of water the whole summer.
We ended up doing rain day activities or outdoor, finding creative ways when you couldn't get in the water. So it almost felt like rain days because you had to completely rethink your day. But it was still fun.
Yeah. That's a huge part of camp now. Is figuring out how to conquer that when you're an outside camp, certainly. So is that what drained you, Jordanna? The heat?
I think the heat definitely drained me, and our staff. But I think what was tricky this summer more than ever is we had more and more kids with some like significant behavioral challenges, and we weren't told anything before. Parents were like, oh, if I don't tell them, like it'll all be fine. And then it's week 1 and I have a 4-year-old that I'm like ripping off a fence because they just can't regulate themselves in our type of setting, and had to have a couple of difficult conversations this summer. And it was challenging with kind of getting on the same page with parents about those things, despite our best efforts to be very upfront of the type of camp we are and all this, and be very specific about examples. But I think that was really tricky, and just like, a lot of push from some parents on not kind of applying our behavior policies like with their own kids, right? I think I saw a real trend of parents being nervous to be the bad guy with kids, but we had to follow our policies, and we stayed consistent all summer, and it was just tricky.
Yeah.
That was my drain point too, is that we had 41 inclusion children this summer. So it was just the added logistics of trying to chart it all out. So I had to do a chart with all 5 camps and do it week by week, because this inclusion aid will be with him, but then next week he's gone, but this one's here. And then the next week, so they were trading their inclusion children, and then some were all 10 weeks. But it was a logistic challenge in the beginning. But I put the chart will be in the show notes of what I finally came up with. Just if you've got that problem, how to clarify it in your mind and make sure everybody knows where they're going week to week with who.
It's nice and color coded, Sam. It's beautiful. The Day Camp podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to resource for the latest programming and recreation solutions to help your campers thrive. Check out the all-new Water Tag, where campers suit up in special vests and blast away with high-powered water launchers for the ultimate splash battle. Rev up the fun with new Pump Tracks, a modular, easy-to-install bike course that brings the need for speed to any camp setting. And when it's time to cool down, FLX Shade delivers stylish, innovative shade with maximum coverage and minimal impact on your site. CRS also offers prefabricated cabins, pavilions, and restroom buildings. Everything you need to create a better camper experience. For more info, visit crsforrec.com. That's CRS, the number 4, REC.com. CRS is serious about fun.
We're going to talk about at some point soon is accountability. And I think that this, what you're talking about, it leads into that because we need it for our staff. But like you said, a lot of these parents are reluctant to do it for their kids. And in a way, we have to do it and we have to be the bad guys. And we had to put in a lot of that into a regular camp thing and then into the buses also, because the behaviors of some of these kids on the buses, they're not used to being on a bus for so long. And they're little, and they think that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And and some of these kids live so far that if you're kicking them off the bus, you're kicking them out of camp.
Right. 100%. And then the parents, we had a similar situation where these boys, we couldn't have them on the bus despite trying all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, your parents are going to have you drive, you have to drive them up to camp. It was far, like Toronto to camp is quite the distance, and it inconveniences the parents. But there was no conversation at home of, you know what, boys, you've now inconvenienced us, right? It was like that we were the bad guys. And we just see everything as a learning opportunity at camp. And it was challenging, exactly what you said, to always.
And then sometimes addition by subtraction is what you got to think. Because if you get rid of these 2 kids paying 8 weeks camp, it's a lot of money. But at the same token, think of all those kids on that bus who
and the staff
are not going to come back because of those kids, theoretically. But also we, like you're talking, we all, the 3 of us have a lot of inclusion campers. And our person that's in charge of it, she's like Mother Teresa. Her name literally is Teresa. And I think she tends to take some kids who are borderline and you don't really know how they're going to be in a camp situation with 1,000 people in the heat and all that kind of thing. And those kids on the bus could be really, really unpredictable, let's say. And now we're thinking of changing our policies that if they have an additional support person at camp, then they may need to have somebody on the bus. And if they can't, they're going to have to drive them because it's just too unpredictable.
Did you all see less of a filter where kids thought they could just spew their hate on each other now? That it's okay to say that, oh, I don't like that person because they're different, or I don't like that one. We had to kick out several people just because they felt like they could. And the parents, like you said, were backing up the kids saying, oh, they're allowed to say how they feel.
Well, look,
not here, they're not.
I was just going to say, Sam, that's a problem with parenting. That's not a kid thing, you know.
Just seems more open.
If the parents are tough, well, look who the president of the United States is right now. Let's move on. So one of the things that drained me is that we did have such a high return rate. And now next year is going to be our 25th year, big anniversary. And we have a lot of middle management people who have been around for a long time and they're getting older. And when you get older, and I'm speaking now as a person getting older, you start losing your patience a little bit with people. You're just like, you know what? I'm not dealing with that kind of attitude about some certain things and certain people. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that it's draining for me as the director who has to sort of keep everybody civil to each other and working with each other and all that kind of thing. And you keep on good people for a long time who are opinionated and who are awesome and are passionate and are talented. That's so great for so many reasons for your camp. And at the same time, there's residual to that makes it a little bit of a balancing act. And now here I am 24 years in, right? Maybe it's time for some people to call it a career here because it just becomes that. So that's
such a real thing, Andy. Like it's been interesting for me to still in my situation is that I get to see my parents do this and I've seen my grandparents do it. And like over time too, you're so lucky to have these people who are so loyal to your camp and
who
the
could make the first day of camp not feel like the first day of camp?
right. And they
Right.
love, love, love. We celebrated some 25-year anniversaries, some 40-year anniversaries at Robin Hood. We're so grateful.
Mhm.
And there are times where, yeah, either there's no room for movement from other people, for other people, and just some tricky situations where it can get tough to kind of bite your tongue sometimes a little bit. It typically comes from a place of love that everyone is
Mhm.
kind of so open. It's because you've
Right.
created this space where everyone is so feeling so comfortable, but
And
it
they
makes
feel ownership. That's the thing. They feel
and that's what
ownership,
you
right?
want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I see a lot of camps, right? I know a lot of camp directors, and it's just a camp thing, right?
Totally.
People have these people and they become part of your family when you've been around,
Yep.
for a while, and you love them on a personal level. And then at the same time, it's like, how do we get this person to ride off into the sunset?
Right. And you want it to be on their terms. Like we had a long-standing person
Mhm.
say, this was my last summer, like in the last week, just for her own reasons. And we were just praising her for kind of knowing when that time is time for her,
Yeah.
right? We were able to give her the send-off that she deserved because we knew about it, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
but camp is so niche like that. Like there's no other industry that's
Yeah, you know why? Because we're too freaking nice.
I
That's
know,
why.
that's the
Because if we
theory.
were running a business, down the street making toasters, those people would be out of there. They
Well,
would.
yeah.
Yeah,
And this is a good
but
segue
yeah.
about the two being nice, because we had a whole podcast on this of like, are we being too nice? And then whether it's
Mhm.
to staff or to parents or to whatever, did you find that showed up this summer? Like, did you still feel like you were being too nice, Andy?
Well, we had Boogie working with us, and he's from Germany, so he kept us focused. Yeah, look, it's like I said, it's emblematic camps, and you bring in seasonal people, and you make them middle management, some of them, right? And it's their summer job, and they just don't necessarily want to jump into mud in situations. They'd much rather see. But even full-time people fall victim of this at other camps, right? They create workarounds, and they say sort of what you had said, Jordanna. Well, we would prefer that they leave on their own terms. They say things like that, right? Rather than you have to be the one to tell them. And then you know what happens? They're there for a few extra years that they shouldn't be.
Oh, we've had that too, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. But you're right, like both things happen, and it's like, what's the lesser of two evils kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this could be, I've talked to Jeff Lakin about this many times about doing a session at Tri-State International called like Camp Directors Are Too Nice, in that we create so many situations for ourselves because we're too nice. But that does, like you said, Jordana, fall back into the accountability thing.
Well,
So
a lot of
yes,
my
I like to
staff,
think I'm getting better.
a lot of my staff have been with me a really long time, some 40 years. And so that makes it really hard when they don't know when it's time to go. I have that dilemma with one
Yeah.
quite often. But we also, because we became such a family, they all sign off with love you, love you, love you. And
Yeah.
my husband will go, who are you talking to? Why do all these people say they love you?
Yeah. And when you talk to them sometimes, they'll say, you know what? I think this was going to be my last summer, but I don't want to leave you in the lurch. So I'm coming
Right.
back and doing more.
Classic.
So it's like you got to tell them. Like you
Yeah.
just have to tell them.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, how did your accountability go, Jordana?
I
Summer.
think it was really good. Like we really focused on that. I think we're getting better at just being very open about what those challenges are. So like accountability was a challenge, and so we tackled it like head on. Our whole theme for the summer from our senior staff training, we have a senior staff team of about 50, was all based and rooted in David Yeager's mentor mindset of high support, high expectations, and how we can achieve that. And I think that helped with accountability across the board. Another thing that helped us was moving one of our associate directors in more of an administrative role. Honestly, especially when it came to like absences and kind of like those admin items that he was able to really help with. And I think our staff, just once the structure of things was so laid out for them, they were better able to kind of adhere to all of those policies and whatever. So they did follow through on a lot of that. We pushed hard conversations all summer and we modeled them, and I would do one and have our senior staff sit with me on them so that the next one they would do on their own. So we did a lot of that scaffolding throughout the summer, and we saw a lot of growth in our senior staff to do that. And we also saw a lot of acceptance. Not every time, it wasn't 100%, but more acceptance from our frontline staff on being like, yeah, that's how it works. That's how they show me they care, is by having these tough conversations. So I was really proud of our team for that.
It's just
My
hard for these school teachers. It just is.
yeah.
It's just not, doesn't come natural to them.
No, it is work. It is work.
Yeah.
My daughter was a camp director at a different organization this summer, and it was her first time being a director. And she had a middle management person above her who hired, who did all the scheduling, who did all the ordering. So she didn't get to do any of that part, which was really hard for her. And he did share very much information with her. So, and then he'd go, okay, you're going to train on this in like half an hour. And then but she's been like Justin, she's lived camp her entire life. So she would pull it off, but she had to do her evaluations for the first time of her staff this year. And she goes, I did the model of if they did something good, I made sure I told them, but if they did something bad, we talked about it. And she was so surprised because this one guy she goes, it was the worst evaluation I've ever given in my life or even seen. And he goes, oh, it was better than last year. And he didn't care. And I'm like, okay, if you had any control, you are not hiring that guy back. But he's a collegiate sports guy. And the guy above her is all about like coaching football. So he wanted this guy in there. And the guy's just not a good camp counselor. Like his bar was so low. So anyway, she learned a lot of lessons about what other organizations do or don't do. Um, she was the only one there with first aid and CPR training, and he ordered several dangerous things that she told him not to order. Sharp frisbees with no edge, head injury like the first day.
All right. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
So anyway, learning process.
So Boogie, who worked for us the last 3 years, who never knew what a summer camp was until 3 years ago. He's a super, super smart guy with lots of great experiences. So he worked for us this summer, and this might be his last summer with us. And he said the main problem that you guys have at summer camps is that you have these middle management people who are not good managers. They just don't know how to have those hard conversations, how to hold people accountable, how to balance that whole thing. It goes back to what I was saying. Everybody's too nice, and nobody really wants to jump into the mud and have those kind of things. So it's just really important to have people like him involved so he can call people out on it when it's happening.
Yeah.
Because usually camp directors, we're just too busy. So what's happening, or may not find out about it, but to have boots on the ground person who's helping oversee, whether it's our head counselors or in between people that can see these kind of things. Because sometimes those people just need someone with them to have that, or need somebody to prod them. Like, no, you need to do this like today.
Like you were talking about your scaffolding. That's so important to get them started.
Well, and like if the majority, and if the majority of your team is not used to giving that kind of feedback and it's hard and it's new, then anyone new who maybe is kind of ready to go for it, but a little bit hesitant is going to be swayed by the majority of people who are like, no, don't do that. Don't go after that. That's not worth it. And so I think you're totally right in having somebody to kind of be an advocate for that and then like slowly get the team fully on board with that is also important because what we saw was because we put so much emphasis on it from the leadership team kind of down, it was like that was the norm. Like there wasn't not doing it. There was not doing it, but people were kind of calling you out like as it was happening.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be a priority from this year moving into next year with our leadership team. Like as far as that's what they need to work on. That's what they need to get trained on from people who know how to train that kind of stuff. Because it just is so important. It's like we had Michael Brandwine on last year, and one of the quotes that just stuck with me is like, if you want your staff to be more professional, you have to treat them like professionals, and that means holding them accountable. You can't just, it's not all fun and games.
The one thing that we continue to do is the like 2 or 3 weeks in self-evaluation, and you wouldn't believe how well they do those. I mean, they really expound on every question. They all have goals. I think that really helps us more than anything is seeing if they are thinking of it as a professional, accountable type thing.
And I also think that they pay attention. Like if you say you're going to do something at pre-camp and then it doesn't happen in the summer, they're not shy to call you out or talk amongst themselves. And then you hear, because they'll be like, well, I wrote this thing with my goals, but like no one's really followed up with me. Like I think this era of staff is very focused on like walk the walk, right? And like, are you doing what you said you do? And they want to see that happen. And so I think exactly like that quote, we have to model that for them, right? And show them that we're doing it and hope that it will kind of trickle down. For this type of accountability, like it extended to staff absences that were an issue for us in years past. This year, they were far better because we had such a strict system on it. And they knew, like, if you didn't submit it for a certain date, like you were getting docked pay or you were getting a sit down chat with somebody, or like there was something that was happening if you didn't do that. And then everything just worked really well and kind of seamlessly because those expectations were set from the start.
Yeah. We've had 2 good years now of that. And coinciding with just 2 good years of being able to hire people
Right.
hasn't been difficult at all for us. It's been great. We have plenty of extras and all that kind of stuff. And in the big picture, it really is amazing that this younger generation of people who are working as staff now, who are literally indoor people playing video games and stuck on their phones all year. And then we pull them out and basically throw them into boot camp and make them be outside without their technology and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, Jordanna, they've got some hot friggin' days this summer and they powered through. So they are super capable. And I think that as the world becomes more and more indoor and screen driven, that we have a great offering for young people to work in the summer. Like this is great. This is way better than whatever, working in a pretzel store or something.
100%. Well, so many times during the summer, I would just look and call our media team over and I'm like, we need to capture all of this. Like, how do you bottle this up to show people? Like, right, we're always thinking a couple steps ahead of like, how can we recruit? How can we retain? And how can you bottle up the feeling and what I'm seeing out there so that we can tell people? Because you just want to shout it from the rooftops
Mm-hmm.
how good it is. I was so impressed with our staff, but like, we're also in a little bubble. Like no one gets to see that. The parents don't
Yeah.
even get to see all the amazing work that's being done. You know how much work goes into building the perfect camp schedule. And when a key staff member leaves, it can feel like starting from scratch. That's where Camptivities comes in. Built by camp people for camp people. It protects your institutional camp knowledge and ensures that every camper gets the schedule you promised. And Camptivities does it all for day camps. Auto scheduling for staff, campers, groups, manual adjustments, over 70 reports for rosters and data analysis, tons of customizable settings, and so much more. Schedule smarter at camptivities.com. Don't wait until the new year. Now's the time to find a better way to schedule and save 15% for the first year. Camptivities would love to show you the next big thing in camp. Visit camptivities.com to set up a time to chat. Let Camptivities help you get away from your desk and back out to camp. You are a leader of your camp and a pillar in your community. When your customers put tremendous trust in you, Campminder's powerful management tool delivers the day-to-day task support that helps you make every moment memorable and every summer stellar. With 20 plus camp-specific tools in one, Campminder's user-friendly platform is backed by a full team of engineers who are constantly thinking of ways to help your camp stand the test of time. Visit them today at campminder.com.
The media team is so important. And I just think that any camp, I don't care if you're a rec program or a rich kid camp or anything in between, YMCA, whatever, you got to hire photographers, video people. Like you got to do this. It's so important because it just looks so great. And to be able to show people and still photography is great too. But this is a generation that wants to see short videos.
Yeah.
And to be able to have that, it's just great. That is the only way to bottle it. Besides word of mouth and then that.
Yeah. So Andy, what does your media team look like at Liberty Lake?
Well, it ain't Ramacoy. I think he had 9 or 12. I don't remember. When he
They
was
have a
on.
big number.
Oh yeah, they got a big number. They got a lot of people there. But we we should be bigger, but we have one dedicated photographer. Justin says we should have two. And we have we have two videographers, one that actually teaches a class for half the day and then does other video things. And then another guy that comes in and just makes like these beautiful short videos for us as well. And then I have one of my group leaders who was a marketing major. She curates them and puts them out on all the different platforms in the evenings. And then I have various people come in and my little TikTok squad will come in and make short videos that come up with really cool ideas and do things. So yeah, I dedicate a lot of time and resources to it, but I think it pays off huge. I think that it's the modern word of mouth in a way.
Sam, what do you have of Booker's Pen?
Well, we finally got our own website because the Park District website was where everything went.
They're at 2005.
Yeah. I think we actually got it last year, but nobody knew about it. And we were supposed to have somebody that was going to take our pictures and put it on, and it kind of fell through. He is one of our counselors. And so by the end of the day, he was tired, and they never said, the marketing team here never connected with him on coming in. So anyway, all the directors downloaded the pictures at the end of camp, and you probably saw me hitting Facebook with each camp set of 50 pictures at the end of the summer. But we really need to be doing it in short bursts throughout the summer. So that's one of my goals for next year, is to get better at that. We did have a videographer come out to do he's come out like the last 3 or 4 years and done a promotional one of just us doing our stuff at camp. And I haven't seen this year's yet, but we'll have it ready.
Yeah.
Soon,
well, those
hopefully.
long form ones are less relevant now than the short things. People want their little dopamine hit ones. And yeah, it's just the only way for people to see the amazing stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. Our team also, I wish our team was bigger, but we have a head of media she's a superstar. Like she's going to teachers college, but has a background in media and marketing. And she takes care of all of the posting and all the social media things, and then oversees 2 other staff, one who's focused on photography and one who's focused on videography. And then she does a little bit of both to supplement, and she's super organized. So it's nice to have that person, but it's tricky to get the right people in those roles and to figure out a structure. I think in the last couple years, I know I've played around with different iterations of what a media team looks like. And at every camp, it looks so different, but we've really found that it's important. I think we post pictures every day on a private site, and I know every camp also does that different. And now there's like AI picture sites where you can like just get your kids' photos kind of sent to you. But we post every day, but there's still like such a high demand. Like parents want footage of their kid every single day, and it continues to be a challenge for us to manage those expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's preposterous. That for them to even think that. You just have to really work at setting expectations on that. But I do have to give a shout out to that facial recognition stuff though, because we're paying out our nose now for Camp Minder for the newest version, and that comes with that facial recognition thing, and which initially I was so against. I'm a day camp. These kids go home, they're going to see their parents. What's the big deal, right? But you see at the end of the summer now, the parents are posting these collages of their kids, because they get every single picture. Even if the kid's in the background, they're getting this picture. And it's just an unbelievable tool for other people to be bragging about you.
The best marketing you could get. It's great.
Yeah,
it is.
That's wonderful.
It is. And yeah, the parents love it. So, and this year they did it for the staff, which makes it even better. So the staff are doing the same thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I had another question just about communication and parent expectations. Like we continue to try and manage all these expectations, but especially for day camps, like kids are going to daycares or schools and they are literally getting updates of when their kid goes to the bathroom and when they eat a snack and like when different things are happening in their classrooms. And like it used to be no news is good news at camps. And I don't think it's like that anymore. And still, we don't send out communication daily or specific updates about each child. So curious to know what you guys do, if there are those updates that get sent home, or if you felt kind of that challenge also this summer.
I guess I'd speak to the expectations part. Our evaluations have exceeds expectation, meets expectations, doesn't. And I've just been finishing collating all of those. And we had like 95% exceeds. And then I was thinking, like you're saying right now, wait a second. I feel like the expectations are getting really high. At what point is this going to be a moot system anymore? Because their expectations are going to be out the window and you're not going to have anybody saying exceeds anymore because they think they should have daily,
You have a
weekly.
website, Sam. Tell them, I got a damn website now. I think you have it in a way better because you're a rec program and you can say, hey, look, this is taxpayer money. Like,
Right.
and it's wonderful that people feel that they're exceeding expectation. That's amazing. Like, just take solace in that. Don't worry about the future, for God's sakes.
It's hard
Um,
though.
a couple of communication things with us. Also, the new Campminder has built-in text messaging. You can communicate just like email. And it's wonderful to be able to text message individual people, bulk people, all that kind of thing, because that's how people communicate through their phones, right? Not everybody checks emails through their phones, but they definitely check when they get push notifications and text messages and stuff like that. So that's been a godsend. But the other thing is our bus companies, me pushing it with them to get GPS on their buses that the parents can log into. And especially like you're near Toronto, right? Like our Philly families, like they could get home in a half hour, they can get home in an hour and a half. Like it could be anything in between. And they don't care as long as they know, you know? So now we don't have to send them text messages or emails and saying, hey, the bus is going to be 20 minutes late and all that kind of thing. They just got stuck in traffic. They can see it now on their own app. So, you know, it's out there. Technology's out there. It's just a bunch of mom and pop companies may not want to spend the money, but you could push it with them.
It's so funny because I find it such like a philosophical debate and kind of evolution of that because we have our own app for Robinhood with the tracking and the transportation so parents can see it. But for the longest time, it didn't have that time or ETA part of it because we were like, I don't know if we want to be out there with that. And so it was kind of a debate internally of like, where do we stand on that? And then we made the jump. And I am telling you, our phones have never been quieter
Oh
after
my
camping.
God. It's
Like,
unbelievable. It's so
crazy.
great. Yeah.
It-
Well, ours doesn't have any ETA or anything. They could just see where the bus is, you know?
Yeah. And so
We
it does make such a difference, but it's also potentially like a slippery slope. Like once you give them a little bit, they can kind of get carried away. And then when it wasn't super accurate or we had a glitch one day, oh my goodness, so mad at us. And I was like, we can't control technology. Like, yes, embrace my position is yes, embrace technology. Let's try our best to move with that as much as we can. And with technology, you break it, you rebuild it, things happen. Like we have to be on the same page, but it's tricky with people's understanding of that.
we had a mom who wanted to know where the teen camp bus was right now because she was going to go meet it because her child was hot and she went, get her off that bus. And I was like, you cannot stop the bus on the highway coming back just to get one child off. So yeah, you can have the exaggerated with the GPS. She probably would have gone and stopped that bus
Yeah.
on the road. So
Yeah, I think I've come to a good balance where it's just like, hey, we are zero technology outside with the kids, and we are state of the art, everything else, and they love that.
And communication is like the top thing. I think that's what we really pride ourselves on too. And it's just the more communicative, the better. But something I'm going to look at for this year is like, what is our desire for personal updates about kids? Like, just given the volume of campers that we have, I don't think that's something we want to do. But for first time families, we do a check in of like, if you're interested, you can let us know if you want to call. We don't get like an outpouring of like requests for that, but I think it's worthwhile to do
Oh, that's a
something.
great idea. I think that's really smart. We used to, back in the day when people actually answered their phones, we used to call all the first year kids, but now it just goes to voicemail. But I think throwing it out there as a solicitation like that is a great idea. The only like daily communication we have is with our inclusion kids. Their advocates are writing like a daily log and they make a copy and send it home to the parents every day. But
That's
for the
great.
regular kids, we definitely are sticking with no news is good news for the most part.
Mhm.
Our counselors put them in the cars as well. And so they get to chat briefly with their counselor every day, either as they take them out in the morning or as they put them in at night. So they are getting some communication unless their child's in before or after camp. And then they're not getting as much
I don't want parents
FaceTime.
talking in the park. Like, get them the hell out of here. Take your kid. Go. Go. We got 20 cars behind you.
I
We
know.
have a lot of kids. Well, what's something I do want to talk about that from last summer, I forgot. And it's really, really relevant. So this was the first year
Mhm.
since pre-COVID that we did a family night again.
Mm.
So when I was at North Shore Day Camp back in the day, we would have visiting during the day, which was insane. And we would try to have parents come and see their kids playing and stuff. Like, it was ridiculous. So I shifted it then to a family night. That was certainly a lot better. And at Liberty Lake, when I started that 24 years ago, we incorporated like our longevity things. So the 5-year jackets and the 10-year things and all that stuff. And we do the musical that night if parents want to see it. And we have a big barbecue dinner, and we open up a bunch of activities like boating in that lake behind me and things like that that parents can do with their kids. And then the pandemic hit. So we didn't do it in 2020. We didn't do it in 2021. We did like a limited thing for the people getting like their special jackets or whatever, or maybe a limited thing for the people that did the show. And then the last 2 summers, we wanted to do it, but we got rained out the first year. And then the parents said, you should have a rain date. So last year we had a rain date, and it rained worse on the rain date than it did on the first one. So this was the first year we'd done it since 2019. And
Wow.
I cannot tell you how amazing it was and how the parents were so happy to see, even though they're not seeing camp in action, but what they're seeing and feeling is the love between the kids and the staff. They're seeing that, and they can't fathom how unbelievable it is. Like, yeah, we write like last day camp cards, the counselors write to their kids, and they're usually blown away by that. But to actually see it firsthand, they were just literally blown away and so excited. And so it was so affirming of of them sending their kids to us. It was priceless. It was unbelievably priceless. Now I'm really lucky. I have a giant parking lot and I can park 1,000 cars, right? Most camps don't have that luxury. And I know a lot of camps, including Everwood, does too. I know camps that pre-COVID were doing one for every grade just because of their parking lot situation. But I highly, highly, highly recommend creating something like this so that parents can see the magic that happens between the counselors and the kids. And then just seeing your place, because seeing it in the middle of summer, right? I mean, I had people coming in. The only time I visited your camp was like in a January when you took me around for a tour, like, and now they come and it looks like $1,000,000 and everything's green and plush. And oh man, it was terrific.
I'm so glad we're talking about this. Like we do a family night too, and it is the best feeling. And I don't know. I get so emotional. I'm like watching this all happen, and you see like the parents' reactions, watching their kids run to their counselors, and then the counselors being so proud. Like these 16-year-olds who wouldn't say boo at staff training are like living their best lives and interacting with parents in front of your eyes. Like it's so magical, and it's really special. And so I agree. Like if you can do it, do it. Like show
Figure it
off
out.
how
Figure
amazing
it
it is.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
figure out some kind of variation for it. It's worth it.
Another thing though on that is like I know we've talked about staff meetings before. Like that's a long day for our staff. Like they
Mm,
stay after camp. We do an in-person
heck
staff
yeah.
meeting, and but their energy level was like so high because it like feeds their souls this part of the day. But staff meetings, we do them online. I think I've talked about how we do
Yeah,
them.
you did last year. It was very
And
interesting.
they were good, but you can see people craving the in-person. Like even though they are fine online, I think we're exploring doing more, going back to more in person again, because I think socially, even like the
Yeah.
staff are wanting that a little bit more. So that's something we're considering.
Well, I remember when I visited Banner Day Camp, and we had Stacy on last year. It was a great episode. And I think they still do it. Like Wednesday night, they know they all come back. And they go home, they take a shower, and then they come back. And she said that it's great on just a community building aspect, that they get to see each other without the kids and get to hang, and they look forward to it.
Yeah.
And they're in an area where, similar to you, where the staff don't necessarily live around them and me, like they have to travel back, but they do make the effort and they make it like a mandatory thing. So it is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go back to that. It was one of those things where it was like, COVID kind of disrupted a lot of that, made you rethink things, and there were great silver linings from it. But I think now that it's a few years later and we've explored all those different things, it's like, how can we do a hybrid of those things or go back to what it was? And you remind yourself of the magic of all of that.
Yeah.
Our parents are allowed to come to our special events on Fridays on their lunch hour. So talent show, Kerber Boat Regatta, all that. The beach is a public beach anyway, but that's where they get to see the relationships with the counselors and the kids and the activities and
Yeah.
go see the
Well,
turtle.
you're a real part of the community, Sam. I mean,
So-
that's what it is. So that's wonderful that you're able to pull that off.
And kudos to all those camps who do it during the day. Like I don't know how you guys do it. That's incredible. But
Yeah.
have so many people.
Well, the reason we stopped doing it was because the parents, when they were being honest with me, were like, we don't want to come. And if we don't come, our kids are going to give us crap about it because we didn't come. And we were the only parent that didn't come. So I have to stop my whole life and block out all this time from work to come. I'm paying for you to take my kids. I don't want to go there with them.
You have to come, right? Well, that kind of brings me to your one question. What story are you going to be telling in December? Can I tell my story?
Yeah.
It has to do with busing and parents and all of that. So logistically, you saw my maps last year of how we were going to change busing. So teen camp was over by the boat dock. So that is located in a very affluent neighborhood of lake houses, and nobody is ever on those roads. There's like 5 houses take up the whole road, and there's no cross traffic at all. So here we come. And it's really only 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, because we've got it down, just getting them in and out. So they called the police. And so the police came out the next day to see what's going on with us disrupting their neighborhood. And the policeman was one of my old camp counselors. So he just laughed and joined in with the other camp counselors and whatever. They called the next day. They sent him again. So it became he's going to visit us every day. And then they finally gave up because we weren't blocking driveways and it was such a short time period. But they were just so not used to anything being there. But yeah, that's kind of nice when you have them in other professions after they leave you.
Yeah. Well, look, that's a benefit we have as day camp people because we're such a part of our community that wherever we go, if you've been around for a while, they're gonna know you. I get recognized constantly by people, and of course they're adults, 31 years old, and I'm like looking at this person going, well, maybe, what's your name? Because I probably remember your 12-year-old version of you. But yeah, that is a cool benefit. All right, so looking forward to 2026, Jordanna.
Yeah. I think as we look forward, hopefully we can all take a breather, and everyone listening can also take a breather and after a job well done. But what's one thing you doubled down on in 2026? The tricky one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the accountability thing. I think we gotta hone that. But something I didn't talk about was staff training, and I did do a day of camp kind of thing, and not just for rookies. I did it with the full staff, and we worked it through so that when you got to an activity period, didn't have to necessarily be the activity. We could be doing a training module during that period. But the important thing was that each division went through what their day was and talked about the nuances of it. And it really, really helped the new people.
Yeah.
And it was also a great opportunity for the returning people. And in that regard, we did a really great job with peer leaders this year. So this is something we talked about in the past. This was something Justin had come up with from his experience at Villanova as orientation leaders and integrating them as orientation leaders. But then this year, with Boogie and this guy, Eric Fernie, who works with us, they really took it to the next level and made them big brothers and sisters throughout the summer and really had them become integral because most of our unit leaders here, our division leaders are older. And if you're in your 30s and 40s or whatever, 50s, it's not, 16-year-old is not going to come to you unless they really have to, right? But to have these 19-year-old peer leaders, let's say, who are these superstars, but we don't necessarily have an administrative role for them available, nor do I want to put them in an administrative role yet because they're great at being counselors. It gave them this added responsibility. But this year we really mentored them and stayed on top of them and met with them daily. And they were such great boots on the ground for giving us information, what was really going on and where their supervisors were dropping the ball at times or doing great. So that's definitely an area we're going to continue to pursue.
That's awesome.
I did try that with the t-shirts, I'm not your boss, you can tell me anything. And that did work. That was very nice. But another thing I changed about my staff training, which from my director's evaluations of what they want to be changed next year, I think I'm going to do more of it. I had them start off having a meal with their own camp and starting their own bonding before we got the big group together for all the necessary stuff. So I think I'm going to see how many more segments of training I can give each camp to do on their own. And then I didn't want to lose the feel of where all the Crystal Lake Park District camps, but yet I think I do need to give up a little more of that control to each camp. I think it worked out better that way.
Yeah. Well, building community is a priority during those times. And if you have all these 5 camps, all these people are never going to see each other once the summer starts, then yeah.
They're all together in the mornings and then they all separate. And so, yeah, it's tricky. I want the afternoons to be really productive when they're out on their own at their own sites. So,
yeah, for me, we introduced a new leader in training, counselor in training program. So we revamped our old one, and it's now called the Leadership Development Experience. And we were just so happy with how it went. We offered like a credit program and course, which was like really special and worked out really well for everybody, and put in more camp for that community building part as well. So both of those things were really nice. I think on a personal level, like I want to double down on how much I was like out of the office this summer, which was like a real win for me. It was really nice to kind of have people in the roles that are their strengths. And then it allowed me to kind of really connect with the campers and staff and make those relationships. So that was really special and something I'm looking forward to doing again next year.
Awesome. You also, your last question, you said, what's the biggest wild card I think directors need to watch out for? In talking to my friends who are like third-party people who deal with camps, they pretty much said, hey, listen, the numbers are down at camps this year. They just are. And I think that's the thing that people need to think about. Camp directors have they love saying, oh, it'll come back. It'll change. It'll this. I feel like they always think about what it was and everything about the future. And what I'm seeing from a day camp perspective right now is a lot of people, especially new people, signing up for the minimum amount of weeks. I think that there's economic uncertainty, and that's what that translates to. And then secondarily, I'm saying we're going to celebrate our 25th year, and we've had some great years. And a lot of our initial success was not because we were a great camp, because nobody knew what a camp was around here. It was because mom and dad both had to work, and they needed childcare. And now, in a typical household, one of those parents is working from home or has the flexibility. So with economic insecurity and not, I have to find something for my kid. Look, people want to get their kids outside. They want the social experience. Parents are smart enough now to rationalize that, but money is money and camp's not cheap, even nonprofit camps. So I just think that's something that people are going to have to think about, how to keep costs down, keep them from skyrocketing, and knowing that people are going to come for shorter sessions. That's sort of a result.
And I think there's a lot of like niche programs out there, and kids want some of those focused programs as well. And whether I've heard a lot about Minecraft camps, which are like awesome. And as a traditional camp, it's like they're breaking up their summer with, okay, they'll do 2 weeks of traditional camp and then 2 weeks of Minecraft camp and then 2 weeks of gymnastics camp and 2 weeks of music camp. And that fills their summer.
Yeah.
So it's something that we're seeing that trend as well.
Yeah. And frankly, a lot of the country is like that, right?
Yeah.
In most of the country, kids don't go to camp all summer, or they go to various ones, like you're saying.
Right.
I had 70 kids on state aid, which if the state aid goes away, they're going to be home alone.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, a lot of those grants are drying up, no doubt about it. But be sure to fill out nonprofits. Be sure to fill out your ACA grant thing for the character stuff, because I can't, because I'm for profit. So anyway, we're hitting the hour mark, folks. So we need to wrap it up. But this was great. It was great reconnecting, great seeing everybody. And thanks everybody for incorporating us into your chill time. whether you're driving in a car or driving to work, or I'm in the background and you're half listening or whatever the hell it is. But yeah, it's great to be back. And we want to thank our friends, our sponsors, whether it's Sky or Camp Miner, Captivities, Commercial Recreation Fed, all those people, right? Helping bring the podcast to you. And if you like what you hear, you should subscribe to the Day Camp Pod on your favorite podcast platform. So check out the show notes and all our 100 and whatever episodes at daycamppodcast.com, as well as contact information for the show and for me and Sam and Jordanna. So thanks for listening. Make yourself a better camp pro. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode of the Day Camp Pod.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by Go Camp Pro and the Go Camp Pro Podcast Network. Find a podcast for camp professionals of every age and stage at gocamp.pro/podcast. Thanks for listening, friends. Hey, Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more camp pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.